It's Atlanta preseason football action this Friday at 7:30 as they go head-to-head with the Miami Dolphins, only on WXTX Fox 54. Now, this is WXTX Fox 54 News at 10, 1 hour earlier.
It's a story getting attention from football fans and police all across the nation, but now there's an update on some of the deadbeat parents who are still without Iron Bowl tickets.
What was once a safe haven for President Roosevelt is now only in charred remains. We'll tell you what this means for the community of Warm Springs as well as the nation.
Plus, a team from Alabama is overseas investigating a helicopter crash in Afghanistan. Now, military officials are wondering how they will replace those who perished in that crash. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm Simone Doughton.
And I'm Jason Dennis. A helicopter crash earlier this week has claimed the lives of 2 soldiers. Details are still emerging concerning this accident, but we do know some details. It happened Monday around 4:15 in the afternoon. Officials say the crash took place during what they were calling a routine military training exercise. The names of the 2 soldiers killed have not been released yet. However, they were part of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment that's based out of Fort Campbell in Kentucky. The service members died in an AH-6M Little Bird helicopter, similar to the one you see in the picture here. No other injuries, we're told, were reported. Now, the crash is still under investigation, and Army Public Affairs officials say more details will be released on it in the morning. What's a story that's sweeping the nation now? Operation Iron Snare.
You may remember Operation Iron Snare used fake Iron Bowl tickets to lure in deadbeat parents. Well, tonight we take you back to Lee County for a follow-up. These parents were wanted for failure to pay more than $30,000 each in child support. Fox 54's Elizabeth White spoke with Sheriff Jay Jones earlier today about the national attention his office has received, both good and bad.
Hey, I am now a winner of the Auburn University for 2 free tickets. Thank you.
James Johnson thought it was his lucky day. He had a letter saying he'd won 2 tickets to the Iron Bowl, but as it turns out, the letter was fake. So were the tickets. However, the handcuffs and the deputies using them were very real. Johnson was one of 12 Lee County residents who fell for Operation Iron Snare, an elaborate undercover sting that used the promise of free Iron Bowl tickets to lure in parents who had failed to pay more than $250,000 altogether in child support.
We just really didn't expect it to receive this much attention.
Sheriff Jones says the sting made national headlines and hundreds of emails quickly came flooding in. Most were full of praise, but some were filled with criticism and or obscenities. Now, specifically, you won't read me any of the emails. Why?
Some of it aren't suitable for general broadcast television, quite frankly. The negative comments have been in regard to the manner. They feel that it wasn't appropriate to trick people, that you know, the issue of a lie, so to speak. But you know what? We stand by the operation. We stand by what we did. We operated completely within legal bounds. And the bottom line is, we didn't put these people in this position. They did.
Jones says the sting actually saved his department money by bringing the offenders to the deputies instead of the deputies trying to track down the offenders. The sheriff says several law enforcement agencies across the nation are now interested in setting up their own versions of Operation Iron Snare.
I'm not resisting. Please cooperate.
As for those arrested, James Johnson is still behind bars 11 days after his arrest because he can't come up with the money the court says he has to pay before getting out.
And we have a warrant for child support for your arrest.
Janet Kranz is also still behind bars.
You got your national championship the year before, I got mine this year.
And as for Alexander Pitts,
and we have a warrant for your arrest for child support. You want to turn around and put your hands behind you?
Well, thank you.
he seemed unfazed by his arrest. Do you have anything to say?
No, ma'am, I'm still happy.
You're still happy?
Yes, ma'am.
Why are you happy? You're about to go to jail.
Because guess what?
What?
I just pay the money and get it back out of jail. That's all it takes.
But before he could actually come up with the money, he spent 10 days in jail. Finally, Sheriff Jones says he stands by his decision to invite the media in to film the entire operation, takedowns and all. He says it brought national awareness to the growing problem of so-called deadbeat moms and dads.
That was Elizabeth White reporting. The family of Columbus's latest murder victim are speaking out tonight. 30-year-old Kiana Chappell was killed Monday morning by his childhood friend, Dwayne Williams. Williams turned himself into Columbus police several hours after the shooting in South Columbus. Chappell died at the hospital from a gunshot wound to the chest. His aunt and cousin said he was a hard worker who made people smile.
Hope he at least let us know why he did it, you know what I'm saying? I mean, what did my cousin say to you so bad that made you want to shoot him and kill him?
Funeral arrangements for Chappell have not been made as of yet. His body was sent to the state crime lab in Atlanta today for an autopsy.
Opening statements took place this morning in the trial of a former police officer accused of tampering with a witness. Police say Mitchell Brock called witnesses himself, claiming to be conducting an investigation. It was in connection with a double murder case involving his brother, James Brock. He's also accused of driving by a witness's home, honking the horn, and putting his fingers in the shape of a gun. James Brock has already been sentenced for the double murder and is serving 2 life sentences.
The jury in the Alabama gambling corruption trial will be back at work in the morning. This following an announcement earlier today. They had reached unanimous decisions on some counts, but could not on others. The judge presiding over the case has asked jurors to keep deliberating, which was also requested by prosecutors and one defense attorney.
The weather's been quite active over the past couple of days, but things finally starting to quiet down tonight. We're looking at the Doppler 9 radar network. We are not seeing really anything out there in terms of rain except for one lone shower just to the east of Butler and Taylor County, and that is moving out of the county or will be here fairly soon. Now, here's what's been happening today. Numerous showers and thunderstorms dumping more heavy rain, some of these with some rather gusty winds today as well, but everything pushing to the south and to the east. The valley is dry for now, and we are forecasting a dry day coming up for you tomorrow. Your Wednesday looking pretty good. Lower humidity out there as well, so get out there and enjoy it. Now, we'll talk more about your Wednesday forecast and what we can expect for the rest of the week coming up here later in the show.
All right, thank you, Derek. Well, President Franklin D. Roosevelt built a home in Warm Springs as his permanent home in Georgia, but this morning, the McCarthy Cottage burned to the ground. Fox 54's Mackenzie Patterson was in Warm Springs today. She joins us now from the newsroom. And Mackenzie, what's going to happen now to this historical site?
Jason, the executive director for the Roosevelt Warm Springs Institute for Rehabilitation, says it's just too early to decide what to do with what's left of the cottage, but he says good can come out of this heartbreaking loss.
Smoke and blackened ruins. It's hard to imagine this was once the home of a would-be president.
Came right to the scene, and the cottage was already destroyed, and I think it was an immediate sense of loss.
Executive Director for the Roosevelt Warm Springs Institute for Rehabilitation, Greg Smeag, says a worker reported the fire around 5:30 Tuesday morning, but Warm Springs firefighters say it was too late. The building was beyond saving. Firefighters don't know what started the blaze that consumed a garage and a neighboring cottage as well.
Like you've lost a member of your family, and I think throughout the day we've all been grieving to some degree.
Franklin D. Roosevelt built the McCarthy Cottage as his first home in Warm Springs in 1927, after coming to the small community searching for help for the paralysis of his legs caused by polio. He lived here in this cottage while he was the governor of New York.
It was in this cottage where we believe that he was convinced to run for president of the United States, and he won his first time as president in 1932.
Smeag says the famous home was a living legacy for Roosevelt's desire to help others. While the cottage continues to burn, he says words of encouragement have been coming from people across the country.
Cottage may be gone, but our mission still continues. And so that was really kind of heartwarming to me that, yes, the cottage means a lot, but we are all about serving people with disabilities in this century. So we will continue the spirit that lives in this cottage.
The McCarthy Cottage, along with other cottages at the facility, are up for adoption. Organizations can help sponsor cottages to be restored, and we're told the McCarthy Cottage will stay on that list. For more information, go to our website, WXTX.com. In the newsroom, I'm Mackenzie Patterson, Fox 54, News at 10.
Oh, a lot of history there.
Absolutely.
Well, nearly 10 years ago, the nation was shocked as planes flew into the World Trade Center.
Well, now a museum exhibit is almost complete to honor those who were lost. Details from that coming up.
Plus, more fires are blazing across London. This as police release new information in a weekend shooting. We'll have more from England as rioters take to the streets when we return.
This is WXTX Fox 54 News at 10, 1 hour earlier, with Simone Doughton, Jason Dennis, Derek Kincaid with weather, and Dave Plata with sports.
The stock market rebounded today, gaining more than 400 points one day after dropping more than 600 Monday. We spoke with a local economist and CSU professor who says while local companies have taken a hit, everyone should sit tight on their investments. It could be a while before we see some major changes in the stock market, and that being careful with your investment is the best way to go. He goes on to say if you don't have stock investments right now, now is the time to learn all you can about how the market works.
Get informed how the market works, how stock markets, fluctuate and all that, but just maybe not a good time to be actually investing in the stock market.
Joy Guy also says that a number of things contributed to Monday's Dow dip, namely the S&P downgrade of the U.S. from AAA to AA+.
Well, the riots in London are spreading now. This is video from the city of Manchester, which is to the north. And the fire department says in addition to burning stores, rioters set fire to a library, a supermarket, and also a vehicle. Violence broke out over the weekend during a demonstration to protest the shooting death of a black man by police. Today, an independent police body said there was no evidence that the victim opened fire at officers.
Preparations are underway for a museum exhibit in Rochester, New York, designed to honor the victims of the September 11th attacks.
September 11th, 2001, a global moment will go on display at the Rochester Museum and Science Center beginning September 2nd. It will include an American flag from one of the World Trade Center towers, a sculpture from the World Trade Center's North Tower, and also a Port Authority police jeep that was crushed.
Families who lost loved ones in the attacks will be invited to see the exhibit before it opens to the general public.
Well, raindrops sounded on roofs all across several homes in our area tonight.
Well, while it cooled temperatures, can we expect more, or will the heat be returning tomorrow? Derek has the answer coming up.
That's right. We'll talk about tomorrow's forecast and right now a live look at live Doppler 9. No showers or storms really anywhere in the valley. Most of the rain has moved off to the east. Now we'll be talking more weather coming up right after the break.